Howdy folks, it's your old pal Monty here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm teaming up with ChatGPT and a little about the voice in the middle of this video. You may not know this, but I am called Monty in this YouTube channel because about 15 years ago I did a podcast called the CWF Gamecast. I can't even remember what the original host's name was, but the sponsor of the show was a fellow called Henry Hyde who ran Battle Games magazine. I was a subscriber. Anyway, one day I recorded a show with a fellow called Neil Shuck, also known as Earthquake. I did an impromptu review of Force on Force, which was Osprey's Iraq War, the War on Terror version. Ironically, I simulate Mosul with Iraqi civilians and Americans and Iraqi insurgents. So I am particularly passionate about the Iraq War that started on March 20, 2003. I gave a review with Neil which wasn't particularly positive to the Osprey Games version. The insurgents didn't have proper rules, and I said so. I have more Osprey books than I can lift, and they were a good portion of the 200 pounds I sent to Noble Knight Games. I still couldn't lift my Osprey collection. But Osprey advertised Force on Force in Henry Hyde's magazine. Henry basically wanted to kick me off the podcast, so I left because the host was scared of Henry. Henry and I have tweeted to each other in recent years. He's a changed man, so am I. The host of the CWF Gamecast wanted to rename the show Monty and the Fox. I was to be Monty. That's how I have the moniker for this YouTube channel. I was going to tell 2 jokes about the power of AI. First joke. I wrote this joke when in 1994, just before I arrived at university. It is called the Pointless Moose Joke. A rabbi and a moose walk into the bar. The bartender said, "Good, Rabbi. Your magical mind-reading ability is known throughout this land and across the seas." The bartender continued, "To far-flung places like Australia." The rabbi nodded. He solemnly looked down. "It is." The bartender continued, "I want to witness this. If you can guess my favorite disco track from the 1970s, I will give you the bar. Turn it into a synagogue. The bar will be yours." The rabbi turns to the moose and gestures to it. He begins to speak in a considered tone. "Bartender, you are in luck because I have my friend the moose here. If you get him drunk, he will answer your question." The bartender cautiously begins pouring the moose beers. The rabbi quickly throws them down the moose's throat. The rabbi gestures to the bartender to provide all the bottled liquor. The rabbi pours all the liquor down the moose's throat. Finishing with a Japanese single malt, one of the patrons gifted the bartender many years ago. The bartender and the rabbi turn to look at the moose. The moose begins shaking. It's wobbling uncontrollably. The rabbi and the bartender look at each other. All of a sudden, the moose begins projectile vomiting all over the bar. The bartender is knocked down. The patrons rush from the bar to avoid the disgusting moose vomit. The rabbi is knocked down by the moose vomit too. Getting up from the ground, the rabbi raises one finger. The bartender looks up. The rabbi says, "You can't stop the moose sick. Nobody can stop the moose sick." To be clear, this is my voice, but it is an AI I have trained. I podcasted for 18 years. 1,900 individual episodes. I stopped because my daughters were born and I couldn't maintain all these hobbies. This was before podcasts elected a president. I'm just done with the performance and spectacle of it all. I'm an old man. If I can keep talking and have people listen, that is enough. Thanks ChatGPT and this Chatterbox voice AI I'm using. Second joke. I am going to tell a joke I wrote about 12 years ago. It is the Assange Ono joke, or the Ono Assange joke. I got some early fame in my 20s. I was in New York City 2000. The man who created my biggest viral moment wrote about me in The Guardian in 1999. I was 22. Anyway, he said to me, "Anyone I know famous, I can introduce you to them." Well, it had to be Yoko Ono. I was a huge John Lennon fan. I was on a train heading to York in the UK when he was shot in 1980. I was 4. People were reading the papers, and my parents were very sad. I often thought if John Lennon had been in York rather than New York, he would have survived. Then I saw the Dakota Building in New York about 7 years ago, and I could never listen to another John Lennon song. Back in New York City in the year 2000, the next day I went out to eat with the fellow who promised to introduce me to Yoko Ono and a random friend of his. They spent the entire conversation talking about how they had both slept with a member of Yoko Ono's staff, the babysitter. Disgusting. And I knew then the whole anyone I know famous, I'll introduce you to them, is a trap. I knew Julian Assange when he was in Australia in the mid to late 1990s. He was a curious character, let me just say that. I'm glad he's free. When I heard about Assange inviting Pamela Anderson to the embassy in 2012, I felt sorry for him. I have been maintaining this YouTube channel for 15 years. It is packed full of old Hammer, Warhammer, some 40k, and a good amount of Warhammer the Old World. Spend a minute searching Monty's reviews for content. You will be sure to find something you like. I'm not sure how the buy the latest GW now crowd run YouTube and Facebook, but it's time we all took a stand against this direction the hobby is going. I was sent this free $500 box set, so I am going to do an unbiased review. If you like this channel's content in contrast, please like and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. Please. This YouTube channel is undersubscribed. I broke the Warhammer Visions controversy in 2014. I got 26,000 views. I am Tom Barbar, lay in Las Vegas, Nevada. Allowed to speak thanks to ChatGPT and Chatterbox AI voice synthesis. Signing out.